Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Reviews, where we're going to do a little bit of a check-in today. The reason that I'm doing a check-in is because technically I could score this right now, but I am a little biased in regards to it, so I decided it's probably better just to do a check-in, and then, unfortunately, I'm not finished with the game just yet. It's taking a little bit longer than I thought it would, but I figure I might as well just do a check-in and then we'll do a final review for it because I have a feeling it's going to be worthy of one. And this is a check-in review for Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. So a few people actually requested that I do this, so it was basically a last-minute addition to the list. I wasn't planning on doing it because, well, and I'll even say it in the actual review. I'm a Resident Evil fan, but the last game I played to completion, like to finishing the story, was Resident Evil 5. So I never played 6, I never played the Revelations games, I've seen pieces of the CG movies, but I haven't finished them. So at that point, I felt like, okay, maybe I shouldn't pick up Resident Evil 7 as a review because I'm that far behind in the story. But I got enough people insisting that I did, so here is my check-in review on and my thoughts so far on Resident Evil 7. One thing I don't need to state out is if you haven't already seen it, you should go see my Drak tries of Resident Evil 7, just to kind of get a feeling for where I'm at with this game. The first question that I want to answer, because enough people have asked me about it, is this, compared to Resident Evil 6, which tried to go more in the action territory, same thing with Resident Evil 5, or is this a return back to survival horror? By all means, it's a return to survival horror, and I actually think, to some extent, it's an improvement on survival horror. And that's saying a lot because, well, Mikami hasn't been involved with the games for quite a while. I don't know the director of this one, but whoever they got knew exactly what he wanted to do. So I'm just going to go over the various aspects, and the only thing I'm not going to do here, since it is a check-in, I'm not going to score it. This is probably going to get a final review, so don't worry too much about that. But I'm just going to briskly go over all of this. So visually, well, actually, let's start with the story. The story is very basic, as most horror games go. You have a motivation to go to a place where, in this case, you play a character named Ethan, who his wife went missing 3 years ago, and then all of a sudden he gets an email from her with a video saying, "Come get me." Or not with a video. The last thing he got was a video, and then this was just a little letter saying, "Come get me." And he goes out to the bayou of Louisiana to go out and find her, and then gets he gets basically wrangled into a very horrible situation involving, well, sentient zombies, for lack of a better term, because I haven't been able to confirm if they're some of the other experiments that Umbrella has done over the years. They are sentient zombies, and a pretty creepy Texas Chainsaw Massacre family in comparison. They're pretty nasty, and the fact that they're kind of immortal doesn't really help. So basically, that the story goes from instead going to go rescue your wife to surviving. So you have to survive, you have to escape, kind of thing. And as far as a basic story premise, I mean, I can't really complain about it. It does its job, and really, in Resident Evil games, the story gets revealed as you go along. So like I said, I'm not too far along, but I've already had a couple of really good moments, including probably going into a little bit of the backstory of Ethan's wife, Mia, and how she got stuck in this place before he did, and all that stuff. So it's been an interesting ride, and I would say that the story is enough of a build-up for anybody to bring in. But let's just be honest, a survival horror game, 80% of it is atmosphere and the horror itself. So that's really why a lot of people play this. I know I have plenty of friends and know plenty of people who play Resident Evil for the story, but most of them play it for the horror. Visually, this game looks great. The only complaint that I have with it is with the graphic style, they try to go for a little bit of realism. And I'm not saying that was a bad idea. In fact, it conveys the horror a lot better. The only sad part for me is that since the game is in a first-person view and then you have this, which kind of gets blurry when they go into like the camera footage and stuff like that, it gets to be a bit of a headache. And I've had to step away from Resident Evil. That's why I'm saying it's taking a while, is because one reason that I'll get into later, and then which is the bigger one, and B, this, because I have to step away to either go take a Tylenol or something, and then I have to wait till I can prep up another Tylenol before I can play it again. So that's a little disappointing, but visually it looks really, really good. I mean, you're in a disgusting house that makes you feel disgusted. You are in an atmosphere that does everything in its power to stress you out, to make you paranoid, and visually it does its job. And now we go into the first reason why I have problems with this game is the gameplay, and with that I'm going to chalk in atmosphere, because in a horror game, atmosphere is 9/10 of the law. If you cannot nail the atmosphere, your game is dead in the water. It's just that simple. I've said it in a previous game, or in a previous review. If you can't nail the atmosphere, you're dead in the water. And this one, hand and a half, nails it. It's got a great atmosphere. It's got, like I said, you're in a very disgusting house, but at the same time, you're also in a house that makes you stressed out, that makes you paranoid. You're dealing with these sentient zombies and having to run from them in a lot of cases where, like, for the first little bit of the game, you are defenseless. And I hate it when a horror game lets me go into a hostile situation defenseless. No gun, no knife, no nothing. And this game did it. This game did it and scared the bejeebers out of me when it did. It's kind of the same thing that I have with games like Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm not saying the games aren't good, but one of the things that works, at least for me, horror-wise, is when I'm basically sitting back and waiting for the bad things to happen. And, Five Nights at Freddy's, perfect example of it, because you're basically waiting for the jump scare, aside from managing all this stuff. You're defenseless. You can't fight it. And the first little bit of Resident Evil 7 does that as well, and it nails the atmosphere perfectly. For me, this game actually, I can wholeheartedly admit, the previous games, 1 through 5, have never legitimately scared me to a point where I was, paranoid afterwards. This game has done that and a half. It hit every single button for me horror-wise that triggers all that stress and all that paranoia, and this thing does it effortlessly. So I have no problem saying that the atmosphere and the gameplay is awesome. One of the other things that I do love about the gameplay is that not only does this feel like a horror experience, but it also feels like a Resident Evil experience. Eventually you will be armed, and eventually you will be able to go and check out your surroundings and try to escape. And they did it in the classic Resident Evil manner. I mean, you do come across doors that will need unique keys. You do come across puzzles that will need unique solutions, which is always the thing that I have loved about the Resident Evil games. I know a lot of people don't like the old Spencer Mansion, but I've always loved the fact that you had to go and get the sword key, and only the sword key could open certain doors, and that would eventually lead to the helmet key, and then you could do that. I love games that do this kind of puzzle solving. And the added horror elements just makes it so that I dread playing this game, but I have to play it. I have to see it through. I have to see what this does to the story. And that's exactly where you should be and where I should be as a viewer. So I have no problem giving that nothing but praise. Audio-wise, this one is a little difficult, at least for the moment, because music is a big part of Resident Evil, and I haven't really heard a whole lot of music per se. It's stayed very quiet a lot of the time. If there's been music, it's been very subtle and very undertoned, and I could barely hear it. One of the things I even mentioned to Andrea so me and Andrea are playing through it, because ever since we did the try, she's been interested. One of the things I mentioned was that, and I've said numerous times in my Gaming with the Geeks with Aldo, I love the save music. The save room music of the Resident Evil series. It always makes you feel calm and safe, and that's what it's supposed to do, because that is a safe area. When we went into a save room this time, there may have been music, but I didn't hear it. And so I literally kind of sat there for about 10 minutes, freaking out, and Andrea looked over to me like, "What's wrong?" I don't know if this is safe. I have no indication in my mind that this is safe. At any point, these zombies could literally come through that door. That's literally what this is telling me, which is good atmosphere, but it's one of those things that you come to rely on. And unfortunately, I haven't heard a whole lot of the music, and I'd love to be able to hear what the composers are doing with this game. Voice work, though, spot on. I've enjoyed every performance from every single person, including the Baker family, and this is the Zombie Chainsaw Massacre family. All of them have come off as just utterly insane, and even better, you just don't feel safe when they're in the room with you. Like there's a point where you actually have to have a dinner with them. Oh, that was a really hard scene for me to sit through. Thinking about it just makes me nauseous all over again. But there's a point where like you're getting solid interactions with them, and they just don't feel sane. They don't feel like you don't feel safe. You feel like at any moment, any one of them could snap and kill you. And that's exactly how you should feel. So the voice work's spot on for that. And also the voice work for Ethan so far. And for, I think her name is Zoe. She's in the phone right now for me, so I haven't like actually met her. And also for your wife, Mia. I love the fact that a lot of the opening stuff conveys like there's a dual personality kind of going on with these guys, or at least with Mia. Maybe the family has gone too far off the deep end, but Mia hasn't, and so she still has that duality. And I applaud Mia's actress. She plays that off really, really well. I'm not really going to go into replayability or presentation because, again, I haven't finished the game. But just to kind of wrap things up, I have no problem saying that Resident Evil 7 has returned to survival horror. I think they basically kicked the door in and redefined it to some extent. And I look forward to what Capcom has planned next. I know that we have a couple of DLC packs that are coming to Resident Evil 7. One including a plot-heavy character, but I have very much not read into it because I don't want to be spoiled. I want to see if I want to go through it with him or her. And I'm overall excited for this game. You know, as much as it terrifies me, as much as it pushes every single button to the point where I have no problem admitting this after the try, or not after the try, but after we started playing after the try. I did have some problems sleeping, and I don't have a problem admitting that. Call me a wuss, whatever. I don't care. That's what needs to happen. That's how this game gets sold. So hats off to you, Capcom. You finally listened to the audience, and you not only listened to the audience, but you decided, well, if we're going to make us do this, then we're going to do it our way. So that's going to go ahead and wrap things up for my check-in review of Resident Evil 7. I will be doing a final review for it as soon as I get a little bit further into the story, hopefully finished by then. I don't know if I'll have done the DLC by then, but by the time I put out the final review, but if I deem it necessary, maybe I will do a review for the DLC as well. And that's going to go ahead and do it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, liking, giving me the feedback that I need to continue to make my content even better for you. And of course, I will see you guys next time for the next video.